All right. Hi, everyone. I'm the philosophy bro anarchist for the purposes of this video, and I am starting a series on the book by the anarchist, classic anarchist Peter Gelderloos, his book called Anarchy Works. And his particular argument I'm going to discuss in this video is that not only government and not only capitalism, but government and capitalism oppress society, which I think is really interesting because although I am not an anarchist, I find this to be I respect this and find these views of classic anarchists appealing because unlike modern day internet anarcho-capitalists who think that government is always bad and capitalism is always good, they're just the opposite. That's just a really oversimplified view of reality and clearly not accurate. It's not like government is always bad and capitalism is always good. That's just intellectually lazy to me. It's the same idea as communism, government always bad, capitalism always good. If you're taking the most extreme interpretations of these, but that's one thing that I don't like about anarcho-capitalists in particular because they make they demonize government, but they think capitalism is good, even though it doesn't seem to represent the views of classical anarchists at all, like Bakunin and Kropotkin in particular, who were some of the original classic anarchists. They were like a lot of these classic anarchists, like Peter Gelderloos, in that they were anti-government and anti-capitalism instead of just anti-government and pro-capitalism or anti-capitalism and pro-government. If you're talking about communists versus anarcho-capitalists, so I like that. I like this also because this video isn't the typical socialism versus communism or socialism, or I mean, capitalism versus socialism or capitalism versus communism. Because to me, this is a false dichotomy because you don't. The only alternative to communism is not capitalism, and the only alternative to capitalism is not communism or socialism. This is really an oversimplified view of politics and reality, as I said. So, and like I said, the what I respect about this view that government and capitalism oppress society is that, like I said, you don't have this rosy view of one and this demonized view of the other, like the opposite of communists, like I said. And what I don't like about anarcho-capitalists going around talking about anarcho-capitalism is they act like they're anarchists, but they're just really pro-capitalism, anti-government, like classic laissez-faire capitalists who were like neoliberals in their economics, kind of. And I don't like it when people like Dave Smith and Michael Malice go around talking about how, uh, government all bad, capitalism all good, and they act like there's this sort of inherent aspect of anarchists being pro-capitalist and anti-government, whereas in reality, the original classic anarchists who I often talk about, like Bakunin and Kropotkin and Emma Goldman, for example, a lot of them were for violent revolution. They wanted to use violence to overthrow the state, and they also like they were disillusioned socialists or communists. Some of the original anarchists they actually technically were called anarcho-communists. So they they wanted they were disillusioned socialists or communists who turned to anarchism in order to fulfill socialism or socialist or communist goals. So they were more anti-capitalist than anti-government, but then they realized that both of these both of these oppress society. And like basically my opinion of this claim by Peter Gelderloos that government and capitalism oppress society is that he's half right. I think he's right that government and capitalism do oppress society. But since I'm not an anarchist, I understand that they're not all bad. There are benefits to some of them, and like the government can do some good things. I'm pro universal health care, for example, and I'm not a minarchist. It's not like the state should only provide like cops and courts or some shit like that. And he and in terms of capitalism, I mean, yes, capitalists are, they're always hunting for profits and exploiting workers and customers and shit like that, but capitalism is good too because it means you can buy things and people who own businesses and make profits, and you can make money yourself. I just think that, like most people probably believe, government and capitalism have pros and cons. They're not all good and they're not all bad. But like I said, I find this appealing anyway because it's not just this it's not just this government all bad notion, or it's not just this capitalism is evil and there's nothing good about it idea. It's more politically philosophically consistent, which is what I respect about classic anarchists like Peter Gelderloos, Bakunin, Kropotkin, and Emma Goldman, who were disillusioned Russian socialists who became anarchists because they became anti-government, but then and then they were anti-capitalist too. Anyway, yeah, classic anarchism being anti-government and anti-capitalism is way better to me than this stupid fucking anarcho-capitalism, which is anti-government, rather government always bad and pro-capitalism, capitalism always good. That's just as dumb as communism. Like I said, it's the total opposite of communism, assuming government is always good and capitalism is always bad. Like I said, there are pros and cons to both government and capitalism. All right, so yeah, that's basically my opinion on this argument. I'm sure a lot of people agree with me, but let me know your opinions on this argument by the anarchist Peter Gelderloos, in the comments. Do you think that government and capitalism oppress society? Do you think that just government does and capitalism is good? Do you think that just capitalism does and government is good? Are you an anarchist? Are you an anarcho-capitalist? Are you a communist? Are you somewhere in between, like somewhat of a centrist, maybe left leaning like me, or maybe right leaning or libertarian leaning like other people? I tend to be kind of left leaning and kind of libertarian leaning, but I believe I follow left wing opinions on economics for the most part, although they get carried overboard, just like how, right wing or pro economic or libertarian positions about the market can get carried away too. Anyway, yeah, let me know your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching this video. I'm going to do some more in this series on this anarchist book. I'm doing a lot about the political philosophy of anarchy lately, so let me know if you like those, and then more philosophy videos to come, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you smash the like button, make sweet love to it, elbow drop it, whatever you want to do, as long as you press it. Share this video everywhere with all your friends, all this knowledge about philosophy. I didn't know until fairly recently that classic anarchists were not just anti-government the way that anarcho-capitalists like Dave Smith and Michael Malice paint them, but they were also very anti-capitalist too. So share this knowledge with all your friends. And yeah, click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Check out my previous one, which is about the Lacanian / Hegelian / Marxist philosopher Slavoj Žižek's claim that Marx was wrong about alienation. Being alienated by a capitalist society is a bad thing. He talked about his opinion that uh, being alienated by capitalist society is actually a good thing because he's just a cynical, grumpy old man and doesn't like people, which I am sympathetic to because I'm not grumpy, but I tend to be naturally cynical and fight that with deliberate optimism. Anyway, yeah, and then check out the next one too, which will be a clip on whether the cognitive psychologist Steven Pinker might be wrong that in his book that human societies throughout particularly the 20th century have gradually gotten more prosperous and less violent. All right, thanks again, everyone. Most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart, and philosophy is awesome.